Was the St. Louis Blues' power play actually that bad, or are we being a little bit dramatic? I'm going to talk more about this coming up here on Locked on Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On today's episode, I will be talking about the power play and the biggest problems that I saw from it. And was it actually that bad? We're going to be grading Jordan Binnington. And then, of course, will this be a productive offseason for the St. Louis Blues? Not for the podcast, but for the Blues. So it's a lot to dive into on today's episode. Before I go any further, I just want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So I asked a question and I said, was the power play actually that bad, or am I just being a little dramatic? Are we overreacting? I hate to say it, the power play was actually that bad. The Blues had an atrocious power play, and there wasn't many good things about it. Sure, you can make the argument that towards the end of the season, they were scoring on it. I mean, they did score 3 goals against the Anaheim Ducks, but again, not to put the Ducks down, but it was against the Anaheim Ducks. So it wasn't like it was against a team like, well, any other team, honestly, but it was not a good power play. And the Blues this season had a power play percentage, and the number might upset you. It is 18%. I know. It was not good. Now, on tomorrow's episode, I'm going to talk about the penalty kill, which is a completely different story. But yeah, the power play percentage just was not good. And it definitely should make you a little bit nervous. Again, at the end of the day, I understand that, there's a lot of changes that happened, but like it just wasn't good. This season, crazy enough, the Blues did have, I believe it was, 45 power play goals, which may not seem like a low number. I mean, I guess out of 82 games, it is kind of low. It seems higher than I thought, right? But the power play just was not it. Every time the Blues would go on the power play, they just wouldn't generate any real offensive chances. And then you're going to make the argument, hell, they had 45 goals. Yes, but their power play was also at 18%. So let's be real here. It was not a good power play. I think that with the right coaching staff, the power play could get better. I think that there's a lot of factors. I think that there's obviously the players, who's in the power play units. There's a lot that goes into the Blues' power play, and I think that overall it just wasn't good, and it wasn't enjoyable to watch, and it was just bad. Like bad, bad, bad. I don't understand it either, like, honestly, if you're asking. But in that first power play unit, you saw centering Pavel Buchnevich, then it was Braden Shen on the left, and then Robert Thomas on the right. You had Jordan Kyrou and Scott Perunovich. On the second unit, you had, most recently, Zach Balduke, Alexei Turchenko, Braden Saad, and then you had Kasper Kapanen and Nick Leddy. On paper, that first power play unit should be good. It should be productive. Sure, maybe Perunovich wasn't the best choice, but you also have your core forwards. So, do I know what went wrong? Absolutely not. I'm not going to know what went wrong. I think when it comes to the power play, and I could go on and on about this, sometimes even if you're a star power forward, you're just not good on the power play. Special teams in hockey is not easy, and it's something that doesn't get talked about enough. I feel like, for instance, when we acquired Torrey Krug, we all knew that, well, I guess that, well, we thought it was going to be better, but, he's a power play specialist, right? And he was in and out. I was just saying one of the many combinations. We need players, especially this offseason, that are specialists on the power play. Yes, the penalty kill, and I'll talk about that tomorrow, was fine, right? The power play is what needs the most improvement. And if the Blues were able to secure a better power play, maybe they would be in the playoffs. There's going to be so many factors when we break down the season. What went wrong? What went right? Of ways the Blues could have gained just a couple more points. And I'm a believer that if you have a strong power play, you deserve to be in the playoffs, because I'm watching the playoffs, right? And again, and this is just an example. The Nashville Predators, not a lot of people expected them to be in the playoffs, especially the beginning of the season. I didn't. No one really did. Their power play is really solid. And I think that that's been one of their strong factors, right? And sure, you know, full strength hockey is important, and there's no denying that. But I do think at the end of the day that this is a league where if you have a good power play, you're at a huge advantage. I mean, Tampa Bay, best power play in the NHL, and you can see why. Despite the fact that they're down 2-0 to the Panthers, their power play is just so strong. The Boston Bruins, the New York Rangers, like you look at all of these teams, and the one factor that they all have is a good power play. You see a team like the Washington Capitals, whose power play isn't that great, and they are struggling. So this is a league where the power play should be the priority. It should be. Penalty kill, as I said, it's important, obviously, but to have a good power play, at least in my opinion, is more important of a focus than having a stronger PK. Ideally, it would be good to have both be strong, but for the St. Louis Blues and getting back to our future, because I want to see playoff hockey again, 2 consecutive seasons without it sucks, okay? It sucks. The power play is what held us back. And not us, them, because I'm not on the team. I just talk about it, and I am so frustrated. And I want to know what you think. Do you think that the Blues are that far off from having a good power play? I think that they need to have coaching changes, 100%. Maybe acquire a specialist for the power play. You can take a look back at all of our previous seasons, and our power play was a lot better. This year just absolutely sucked. And I'm not surprised that it sucked. This team in general didn't really have any direction. I think that this was a team that was just kind of chugging along. And I hate to be like, oh, I'm watching the playoffs now and I'm seeing what's going right and what's going wrong. But there's a reason why we did not make the playoffs. Is that reason our power play? Maybe. Is that reason another reason? Probably. But it just seems to me that the power play this season just is what hurt them. It did. And it sucks, right? It absolutely sucks, because I felt confident heading into the season about the fact that, hey, we could be better than last season, which they were, no denying that. But being 25th in the NHL for the power play, it's not good. When you think about the fact that there's literally 32 teams and we're 25, like that's not, not good. And it's very frustrating. We finished 5th in the Central, 9th in the Western, 92-point season, and it still wasn't enough. So when you look at other teams, because I do find it to be, I guess, important to, I hate to be go compare and contrast, but it is important to also look at other teams and see how they do, because I also am a believer in setting the tone. And this season, you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, as I said, and they had a great power play. 28% power play, which is honestly fantastic. Then you look at the Canes, 26%, Rangers, 26%, Oilers, 26%, Avalanche, 24%, Stars, 24%, Leafs, 23%. Mostly every single team that is in the playoffs, they all have the best power play, which to me kind of cracks me up. I mean, and then you have the Los Angeles Kings that have a 22%. And then you have the Wild and the Red Wings, who are not in the playoffs, but they had a better power play than the Kings. But the reason why I say this is so you can know that the team that we're below is the Ottawa Senators. The Anaheim Ducks have a better power play than we do. The San Jose Sharks do. So the Winnipeg Jets, by the way, they have a really bad power play. They're in the playoffs, but majority of the playoff teams, by the way, just to put that out there, do have a high power play percentage. So I'm a stat nerd, as you know, and I had these statistics because I wanted you to get a feel for my frustration and why I feel the way that I feel. But I do want to let you know about my friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash, with all the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only. Available to U.S. customers. So it is that time where we're also grading players, and I'm going to do my best players and then go down the line and kind of make it not as best. But we're still happy today because we have Jordan Binnington, who had a great season in net. Yesterday, I talked about Robert Thomas, and of course, Robert Thomas gets an A++++. Now, Robert Thomas is the only player, by the way, that will be getting an A++++. Jordan Binnington had a great season, but he will be getting an A. It's very rare for me to give somebody an A+++++. But if there's one player, obviously it's Robert Thomas that deserves it. So let's talk about this season. This season, Binnington played in 57 games with 28 wins. And then he had a save percentage of .913. And then goals allowed was 2.84. So Binnington had a fantastic season in net. Great save percentage, by the way. And you could make the argument that he is one of the top 5 goalies in the NHL. I do believe that. I'm a firm believer in how underrated he is, but a great comeback season for Binnington. The reason why I am not giving him an A+++ is, as I said, my superstar Robert Thomas gets that. It's kind of like the honor of the grading of the offseason, but Binnington held his own within net. A lot of these games honestly came down to Binnington, and he is the reason why the Blues even had life heading into game 80. And say what you want, but this is an elite goalie. This is a goalie that is reliable, dependable, and also a great mentor to Joel Hofer. And when I do Hofer's grading, I will, of course, be playing the interview that I had with Binnington on Hofer. So get ready for that. But it's important, though, to remember how many games Jordan Binnington made some crucial saves, and he got some assists this season. Like I'm telling you, he had a really productive season on the ice, not just in net, but on the ice. So I am extremely proud of Binnington this season. 3 assists this season, which is kind of funny. But When you take a look back at last season he did not have a good season with 61 starts in net. Well, I mean, he had 61 games played, not starts in net. He had 60 starts, so a little different. And his save percentage last season just was not good. It was 894, and then he allowed about 3.5 goals in. So not good, but this season was a redeeming season for Binnington. I mean, you take a look back at all of his seasons, and this was his second best season. I mean, his best season obviously was when the Blues won the cup. I mean, he only did play 32 games, but he had a save percentage of 927 and allowed 1.89 goals. Like insanity. So he definitely had one of his classic Jordan Binnington seasons. And for me, and maybe for you, this felt like a glimmer of hope again because last season wasn't so promising and even the season prior just wasn't right? So I think now when you're looking ahead and you're looking to, the future of the St. Louis Blues, the team right now is in good hands. I said this once and I'll say it again. The Blues have one of the best goalie tandems in the NHL. You should feel confident for the next couple years with what we have between the pipes. Now, do I think Binnington's going to be able to play forever? Absolutely not. But he's still 30. 30 is still young. I'm telling myself as a 25-year-old that 30 is still young because I'm kind of panicking about almost being 30, but still young, still has plenty of time. And that's why he gets an A because he redeemed himself. He's the reason why the Blues had so much hope. He's the reason why the Blues had 92 points this season. If it wasn't for Binnington, you could really be looking at this team having like 78 points. And I'm not even joking when I say that. I know that goalies are important, but the importance and it just overall, just the presence of him on the ice is unmatched. So, congratulations, Jordan Binnington. You get an A for this season. And I'm glad that you're back to yourself. And there was no fights or altercations or anything this season, which was really impressive, too. That's something that's not talked about either, was the fact that we had no Binnington altercation. So, I said it's the maturity in him. Maybe getting married for him was like one of the best things that could have happened because no Bennington fights. Okay, that also AAA. So we're gonna talk to you about my friends over at Sleeper. It's the end of the NHL season, Blues fans. Well, for us at least, but regardless of how the Blues finished, I want to remind you that you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey. Because of Sleeper, you can win your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. It's the playoffs right now, so you can play. Listen, I'm rooting against the Golden Knights, so we're going to go for the Stars. So hopefully Jake Ottinger has a good save percentage or something like that. But you can also play daily fantasy NFL, NBA, MLB, college football on Sleeper as well. So all you have to do, I told you choose those guys like a Jake Ottinger. You just hope anybody beats the Golden Knights, right? Um, and you record more or less in their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in a given game. To win 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Blues fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention, nail in your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code Locked On NHL and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Will the Blues be productive this off season? Well, I sure hope so, but will they? I don't know. I don't know if I have the utmost confidence in Doug Armstrong. And I'm not saying that to be sarcastic. I genuinely don't know. I don't know if he even thinks that there needs to be a lot done. I was listening to his breakup day presser, and I think that he could acknowledge that there's a lot of pieces that still need to be fixed about this team. But he does seem confident with the players that they have. I know that they want to extend Pavel Buchnevich. Obviously, they like Cairo. So I don't know if they're going to look at this team and think that a lot needs to be done. My personal opinion, I think a lot needs to be done. I think that at this point, I'm not saying like, oh, rebuild the team, but definitely tweak some things up. I think that you have an offseason. I talked about some of the guys that will be free agents this offseason. Free agency is so vital and important for the Blues. And they stood pat at the trade deadline. I mean, besides Subban, but that's like a T-Bird situation, right? And when you think about the fact that they didn't make any moves, they have to be aggressive this offseason. At least to me, that's the message I got. If you're not going to do anything at the deadline, you probably are thinking more about the offseason, right? Now, I could be wrong, and the Blues could do absolutely nothing this offseason again, and then we're going to have the same conversation. And I really hope that doesn't happen. You know, it's funny. Like, I think about teams like the Anaheim Ducks, right? Because they're not a great team, but they do at least have some young players with a lot of talent. You look at the San Jose Sharks, right? They were so dominant for so long. I mean, I know we all kind of like laughed at them, but when you think about how the Sharks are, right? My cat's like interested in this conversation. Again, they're going to be getting high draft picks, probably the best draft pick if they win the lottery and it's not rigged to Chicago. You think about the Blackhawks, a team that had such success in the NHL, not playing the best hockey, but the draft picks and the talent. I think that the Blues are regressing. They need to get younger and better talent fast. It's like the New Jersey Devils. Everyone thought that this was going to be a power team and they missed the playoffs. And it's because even though they got younger players, for whatever reason, it just wasn't meshing on the ice, but they're still making moves. The Blues are not making those moves. So once the Blues make those moves and they become more aggressive, then you're going to see success on the ice. That's what it comes down to. It's a very simple formula to be a successful hockey team. I know it sounds crazy, but if you make moves in the NHL and you acquire some good talent, chances are your team will improve. Which is, I know it's mind-boggling, but it's the truth. So hopefully moves will be made. Also, this is just not Blues related, but that Cardinals game yesterday with the 14-1 loss to the D-backs absolutely sucked. And I didn't realize, but I used my Locked On Blues Twitter account to tweet Locked On Cardinals. And I was like, this is awful. And then I looked this morning and I was like, oh, wait, that wasn't on my personal account. So, yes, I follow along, obviously, with our Cardinals here in St. Louis. So, yeah, it's rough. We're just, you know what? We're just down bad as a sports city right now, but it's fine, right? No, I know it sucks. All right, well, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And like always, let's go Blues.